The year was 2013. I'd gotten admission into these two really good medical schools that I had always dreamt of attending. Let's call them X and Y. I went to this friend, slightly older friend, who was halfway through medical school at that point, and I asked him, which one should I join? He simply said, if you want to work and practice in India, join X. It's one of the best places to do that. But if at some point you think if you want to go abroad, join Y, because they have a very good supportive system for people who want to go abroad and train abroad. I scoffed at him and said, why would I want to go abroad? I want to be here. And I ended up joining X. And then in 2021, I left India. Why? There were many reasons for that. But right at the outset, let me say this. I did not move out of India because I hated it. I am fiercely proud of my country and my culture. There are quite a few reasons why I moved out, so let's talk about them in this video. Hey, the lovely person watching YouTube. If you're new here, hi, my name is Ajay. I'm a doctor working in London. If you're already subscribed, welcome back. I love you to the stars and back. I graduated medical school in 2019, and this includes 1 year of internship, which is the same as the UK Foundation program or the US internship year. At that point, I had to make a choice as to whether I'll continue in India and prepare for the NEET PG exam as 95% of my classmates did, or do something different like moving abroad. And I chose to move abroad. There are multiple reasons as to why I did this, and the main thing was because how medical training in India is stressful and intense, which brings us to the first point. I am cognizant of the fact that training for any professional job tends to be quite intense, and you're expected to learn a lot of things in a very short period of time. This is especially true for medicine because there is no set syllabus. What you study is essentially infinite. And as a doctor, as to someone who has to make life or death decisions literally almost every single day, the more you know, the better a professional you're going to be. So you will be fed a lot of information over a very short period of time, which makes it quite intense. But I knew this, I expected this, and in a weird way, I sort of even enjoyed it. But what I didn't enjoy is the way that it was made much worse by the toxic culture in medical schools. Just to give you an example, the batch size in my medical school was about 250 people. So in first year, you start the course with 249 other people. And in your first year exam, for whatever reason, if you fail the exam, that's almost like a mini death sentence. You won't get to repeat the exam straight away. You will get to repeat the exam in like 6 months' time. And if you pass the exam at that point, you'll be put in an altogether different batch that is called the odd batch. And this batch would have yourself and all of your friends who unfortunately didn't clear their exam in the first attempt, but cleared it in the second 6-month attempt with you. So for every batch, there would be like 20 to 50 people. And I know some medical schools where this odd batch turned out to be a bigger batch than the regular batch that, passed the exam in the first attempt and went to second year. And people in these odd batches had a significant disadvantage, like your classes and your practical sessions won't be as regular as the regular batch. There's always this sort of negative prejudice associated with being in the odd batch. You would see your friends become doctors earlier than you would. A lot of things like that. This, of course, I felt was very unfair. A lot of really smart people I knew from medical school unfortunately ended up in these odd batches. They, were a lot smarter than their peers in like the regular batch, but because of whatever unfortunate events, whatever happened, they ended up being in this odd batch, and because of that, they sort of had a disadvantage over everyone else. So with this in background, all I ever wanted to do in medical school was not end up in the odd batch. It was sort of like a terrifying thought to even think about being in the odd batch. Although thankfully with luck, hard work, whatever, I went through all of my exams quite well. Just having this in the background was quite stressful. Now imagine you are like a hardworking, brilliant student who's done very well on all of their exams, but on one specific exam, let's say you're sick on that day, or you missed your bus, or whatever reason you're not able to attend the exam, or for whatever reason you don't clear the exam, you'll just end up being in the odd batch, and like that's like a 6 months disadvantage. Like you're behind your peers for 6 months, and you have all these other things that I told you come along just because you missed your bus that one single day. And add to this the fact that your professors can fail you in the exams just because they didn't like the dress you are wearing, or the way you smile, or the way you talk, your dialect, whatever weird reason. One of my seniors from a different state who, spoke a different language failed in his exam because the examiner was offended that he wasn't fluent in the local language. So just having this risk of, failing an exam because of like a stupid reason or whatever, and being at this sort of like a distinct disadvantage for like 6 months, 1 year or whatever, made med school quite a stressful experience for me. However, thankfully in the past few years, this has changed. So if you fail an exam, you get to sit a supplementary exam a month later. If you fail that exam, there is no odd batch. You then sit the exam again with your, juniors. I think that's wonderful. That reduces a lot of stress, gives people another chance at passing their exams. It's much better now. When I speak to my colleagues here in the UK who, went to medical school here in the UK and ask how medical school was, they say things like, oh, it was difficult, but then we got like 4 months of a year. Like I would go to Greece during summer and I would go skiing during the winter. We would get 15 days off every 6 months, and right after you come back from that break, you would have an exam or an internal assessment or whatever. So essentially that break was just time off from classes to study for these exams. It was not really a break, never had a holiday. So I don't know how it is, but that's not how it should be. Like no humans can manage that properly, and that was training. And the expectations with respect to how much you're supposed to know, how much syllabus you're supposed to cover was insane. It was a lot. I really hated this when I was a student, but now that I look back, this has actually made a lot of positive difference to my clinical practice. It has definitely made me a very confident doctor. So I do see the point about it being quite vast, quite intense and whatever. But at that point, I sort of hated it. I just wanted to, go and train and work in some place where it's a bit more sane and balanced. The thing about being a doctor in India is once you become a consultant and have your own nice practice, life is amazing. You make decent money if you're smart. People respect you for the job that you do. You actually feel like you're making a difference, and the job satisfaction is quite good. I can't think of any other job that could give the job satisfaction that being a doctor, especially in India, would give. But as a junior doctor in India, a doctor in training, your life is completely different. You work 80 to 100 hours a week. If you're in one of those demanding specialties, you're paid peanuts. People don't respect you. Your colleagues and your consultants abuse you, sometimes even literally. And you won't have any time to do anything else or even to meet your own family. Let me paint you a picture. When I was an intern, I would have something called duty days where I would start the day at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'd be in clinics seeing patients through the whole day. I would get a lunch break, that's fine. So after 5 p.m. I would go to the A&E or like the emergency room, emergency department, casualty, whatever you like to call it. I would go there, start seeing patients. So from 5 p.m. that evening to the next day, 8:30 to 9 a.m., it would be me and my colleagues running the emergency department. So 9 a.m. you start, till 5 you're seeing in clinics, and then after 5 you go to emergency room and you're seeing patients throughout the evening, throughout the night, till the next morning. If you're lucky, you get 2 to 3 hours of sleep. As an intern, my seniors would kindly allow me to go and sleep for 2 to 3 hours. But as residents, especially as junior residents, first or second year residents, a lot of them even went without any sleep. Fine, that was intense. So you've been on call, it was intense. So do you get to go home the next day after 8 a.m. or 9 a.m.? Tough luck. So next day, 9 p.m., your consultant is in and you start rounding on the patients that you admitted yesterday and throughout the night. You have, as the junior member of the team, you're doing all the jobs. So whatever jobs are generated during the rounds, it's for you to do. So you do those jobs, it'll be probably like 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. by the time you finish, and then you'll have sort of like mini rounds again. And yeah, by 7ish or something, you get to go home. Well, that was intense, wasn't it? But you go home and you get time, like a day off or something to recover because you've been on this busy shift. No, you're back to work at 9 a.m. the next day and you work till 5 p.m. or like 6 p.m. that day. Go back home, come back again, and you work through the entire week like that. A lot of the times it would not just be one duty day in a week, sort of like what I described, these 2 crazy days which are called 1 duty days. Sometimes it would be 2 duty days in a week. And sometimes when you're unlucky, and this was not a very rare thing, you would get 3 duties in a week, which is basically 2 continuous days, go home, come back, another 2 continuous days, go home, come back, another 2 continuous days. You get the point, right? And now you're thinking, well, that's fine. Your week was intense, but you get to relax during the weekend, go watch a movie and go for a picnic with your friends or whatever. Tough luck. You work on Saturdays just like every other day. You don't have Sundays off. You have half a day of work on Sunday. You would go and see your patients, do some simple jobs, and come home by like 12ish or 1ish, but you still have to go into work even on a Sunday. So when do we get time off from work? I would get literally 1 day off a month, like 1 single day off a month. It was not even in my rota. I had to write a letter to the head of my unit, head of my department saying, "Dear professor, I need this day off because I want to do this." And if it was gonna be a busy day or something like that, he can just say like, "No, you can't take the day off." And then you wouldn't have a day off. You would work the entire month. I did this for an entire year during my internship. I just didn't see myself doing this for 6 more years during residency. I just could not. Although I'm very grateful that I got the opportunity to train in one of the busiest and one of the best hospitals in India, and it honestly made me, a really good doctor. I just couldn't do that any longer. Fine, we understand residency is intense, but as a highly trained doctor, as someone working so many hours in a week, you should be making a decent salary, right? No. This varies from state to state, but where I trained in Karnataka in Bangalore, a first year resident makes about 35,000 rupees a month, which is about $430 a month. Now imagine working 100 hours a week to make 35,000 rupees. And if you were married and if you have to support your family with this kind of money, how would that work? Unfortunately for me, my parents kindly paid for whole of my education, supported me financially during internship and right after as well, and would have been happy to support me financially if I did decide to do residency in India. But what if my parents didn't have the means to support me like that? Like, imagine being a 32, 33-year-old trained cardiothoracic surgeon who can do heart surgeries, but you have to ask your mother to give you money to take your wife on a date. Like, imagine doing that. It was just ridiculous, and I was just not prepared to be in that situation. Also, I think another major reason is that I had lived with my parents till I was 25. I did all of my education living with my parents. I had lived only in Bangalore. I hadn't seen much of the world, so to say. I felt like I wanted a change, a bit of an adventure, and sort of moving abroad, living on my own would get me out of my comfort zone and help me grow as an individual. That was the idea. Again, this whole video is not about why I left India because I didn't like it there or anything like that. I just didn't see myself doing my further medical training in India, and I wanted a bit of adventure. I wanted to be financially independent. I wanted to make my own money, invest, learn to live on my own and like grow as an individual, travel a bit, meet people, sleep whatever time I wanted to, learn to do my own laundry. you don't need to be abroad to learn that, but you get the point. I am very happy about the fact that I was born in India and I was raised there. If I was raised abroad, there are a lot of things that I've learned in India that I wouldn't have learned growing up here. I am very happy with the progress that the country is making. I'm very bullish on India as a future superpower. I would definitely want to come back to India as a consultant, but not as a junior doctor. So once I'm a bit more senior, once I'm settled into my work and like have my training and everything sorted, I definitely see myself coming back to India at some point. I am also very grateful for the medical training that I received in India. Although at that point it was a bit unpleasant and stressful, the amount and the quality of training that I received in India has definitely been a huge boost in my medical career, and I think it made me a really good doctor. And for that, I will always be thankful to my professors and seniors, even the ones who were toxic. That was a long video, and if you made it till here, you're awesome. Drop this emoji down in the comments. Let me know what you think of the things that I discussed. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.